Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to be able to introduce this young man. His name is Jamie Messina, and Jamie is a former automotive executive, and he's a founder of his company, the Global Mentoring Company. He's a global entrepreneur, master trainer, international speaker, and he's also a rising NHT Global star that is quickly becoming one of network marketing's greatest leaders. He is persistent, passionate about personal development, and his global team spans many countries today. And tonight, his presentation, and I know his passion, is on his journey with success mindset. And this is unlike anything that you're going to ever hear. So get that pencil out, get that paper out, and get ready. Here's Jamie.
Thanks a lot, Francis. That's a fantastic job. I should have you as my PR woman. That's a fantastic intro. I appreciate that. And for all of you on the call tonight, obviously, this is for you. This is something that we love to do every single Wednesday, and of course, you need to be congratulated for being here on the call tonight because it's a testament to you and your commitment to this business, to your business, and how you want to grow as a leader. You know, every night, every Wednesday when we do these calls, obviously, there's a lot of things that we cover. Some are business-related, some are personal-related, but the important thing is you're making that commitment, obviously, to be on this call. And for those of you that are brand new to the organization or brand new to this industry, obviously this is something that is great to have, because I know when I started 7 years ago, I knew nothing. And it was really a matter of calls like this that got me over the hump, that got me immersed in what I needed to learn so that I could make that transition. And, you know, it's really important that you listen to these calls on a regular basis. And the great thing is, because these calls are recorded, you have the ability to review them. You know, sometimes, you know, I know for myself and others, these calls aren't always, you know, directly related to what I need at the moment. But that's okay, because that's why they're recorded. They're put up on our site within 24 hours, and you can go back to them, and you can review them. And for something that, you know, is potentially very important to you at the time, and you miss something, well, then you can go back and, of course, watch it again and listen to it again. And that's really important about the importance of these calls. So tonight's topic is definitely something that everyone is going to have to deal with in their lives. You know, for some, they may have already recognized the need to change, but have struggled to do so. This training's for you. Then there may be others who are struggling to get what they want and don't know why they're struggling. This training's also for you. Then again, there's going to be those who are getting what they want, but have hit a plateau. You know, they can't quite get through that glass ceiling, and they want to be able to break through. This call's also for you. You know, I'm very excited about tonight's call because this one thing, while extremely huge and powerful, is also very simple. And you'll see why at the end, why it's so simple to do and yet so simple not to do, and it's so powerful for everything that we do in our lives. You know, it's something that you have to recognize that has a huge power over you. And if you don't recognize that, that could actually be very dangerous, because it could actually hurt you from getting what you want. And of course, we want to make sure that you have everything that you want and then some. You know, it sounds so simplistic to have a success mindset, doesn't it? Of course, you want to think of success. You want to be success. So the opposite of success would be failure, right? So who actually would want to have a failure mindset? You really think about it, it sounds kind of silly, but if you ask people, if you talk to people like we do on a regular basis, even some of us, myself, I was guilty of this 7 years ago. I had a failure mindset. I wasn't setting myself up for success. I was setting myself up for failure. And it was because of this that I really realized over the past 7 years what I was doing wrong the previous 30. It was like, wow, I had this aha moment that I realized, you know what, my mindset, that's my blueprint. That's my blueprint for who Jamie is. And everybody needs to realize that that's really important, that you are the ones that draw, that create, that make that blueprint for you, and it's a matter of then you live your life. And tonight's training is going to help you to understand that having that success mindset is more than just how you think. Tonight's training is not about being optimistic or the glass is half empty versus half full. That's not what this training is about. This training is about what's between your ears and, more importantly, what's in your heart. And that's how you're going to create everything that you want to have, okay? It's very important to understand that, and I'll walk you through the steps that you take to get that mindset. So, you know, one of the things that I realized over my time is that I like to use examples. I like to use examples because I'm very visual. I'm not sure if you're visual, but I like to be able to say, oh, okay, A to B to C, that makes sense. And what I'm going to do when I first start tonight's training is I'm going to get a volunteer. I'm going to get a volunteer that I know very well. I'm going to get a volunteer that I know has gone from struggling with this to the ability to be able to cope with it and then beyond. And I'm also going to have a volunteer that's going to be able to help you understand what this is all about. But don't worry, the call's packed. I can't pick on anybody. The volunteer is going to be me, and I want to pick on myself tonight because I know the struggles that I had are not unlike a lot of other people's struggles, and it's very common. So I think that what I went through can definitely help a lot of people on this call. And as Frances mentioned when she introduced me, I used to be an engineer in the automotive industry, and particularly a chief engineer. But why that's important to tonight's call is because a lot of the skills that I used every single day as an engineer, I should have been using to create my success mindset, okay? So very quickly, on a daily basis for me, I was always tasked with having to solve a problem. Our customer was a top car producer, and we had to make frames for their trucks, okay? So what that meant was we had a problem that we had to solve. We had constraints, we had restrictions, and we had ways to make it. And me as the engineer, I had to come up with something that would solve that problem. So I would have to come up with something in my mind that would work. I would then have to take that and communicate it to my designers so that we could actually make something from nothing into something, okay? So what we would do is obviously we would have a design that we would put together, and then we would work on it every day. We tweak it, we work it, we change it, we tweak it, we work it, until finally it worked in the system that we needed to work it, okay? So the important thing to understand was it went from nothing. It was an idea that I had between my ears that I then communicated, and with the help of my team, we then made. Now, when I look back at what I used to do and how I struggle with my mindset, I get a little frustrated at times because what I honed and what I did every single day at my job was exactly what I need to do with my mindset, but I didn't do it. And the reason why I didn't was because I was always trying to figure out how I was going to get to that next step, how I was going to make more money, how I was going to get that bigger house, that better car, travel more. And the one thing with having a mindset is you don't have to do that. Because when you set your mindset correctly, everything else falls into place, okay? There's no, see, one of the things I have on the slide here, there's no coincidences in the universe. Essentially what they are is that's their way of telling you that if you're focused on something and you've got the mindset that you're going to be successful with something, when you start to see these quote-unquote coincidences come in, that's the universe telling you that you're doing the right thing. You're going down the right path. Continue doing what you're doing, and you'll continue to build that momentum. And that's exactly what I realized after much trial and tribulation that I needed to do. Everybody agrees that the best experience in the world, the best teacher in the world is experience, right? And the reason why that is so important, especially when you're developing new skills, or in this case, transferring skills, is because you have to use them in the right context. You have to use them for yourself. You can't take what someone else tells you to do and just assume that it's going to work for you exactly the same way. We're all unique, we're all different, and of course it's going to be different for you. So when you physically do something, when you go through an experience and you internalize it, it becomes part of you, that allows you to then see how those skills helped you. And then of course that changes your belief level. That changes what you know you're capable of. And you continue to do that and work and work and work. And for me, when I realized what I was lacking, when I realized how I wasn't transferring my skills, then I put it all together. And even though my mentor was telling me to do these things and I wasn't listening, I thought I could do it on my own. When I put them all together, the world opened up to me. The universe opened up to me, and all of a sudden I saw things that I never saw before. I was doing things I was never able to do before, and that's because I changed, okay? And the same thing can happen for you as well. So one of the very first things that you have to do when developing your success mindset is define your success, okay? So that's kind of like the plan, so to speak, but you need to define what is successful to you. This has to be unique to you, and it must create emotion within you. It must also be tangible, because you have to be able to see it in your mind. It can't be something like, I want to be financially free, I want to travel more. Okay, those are great, but you have to see yourself. What does you being financially free mean to you? How are you going to live? What kind of house are you going to live in? Are your kids going to be in private school? Are you going to have 2 cars, 3 cars? You're going to have a closet full of suits. So whatever that may be, you have to be able to see what your success is. Defining what is successful to you goes well beyond goals. Okay, that's something else. If you were to look at the success mindset as a journey or as a trip, if you will, the goals that you set for yourself are simply the mile markers along the way. Okay, they're those things that you're going to take this big, huge, change in your life, and you're going to break it down into goals. And then as you knock off those goals, obviously that feels fantastic. As you knock off another goal, you continue to move closer and closer and closer towards that bigger picture. That's important to understand. And what you define as successful is as I said, what you want and how you want to live. There's no simpler way to put it. If you want to live how you currently are right now, boom, that's your success. But there's never been somebody I've met that hasn't want to improve one thing or another. And, it's okay to want to improve things. It could be a personal item you want to improve. It could be a physical thing. Maybe you want to join a gym and get more fit. It could be financial. It's important to understand that we always want to improve things. And just because you want to improve something doesn't mean that you've failed as an individual. It just means you know that it can be better. You know that you can improve it and make it better. See, it's our natural gift to be able to improve things. And we feel our best, we function at our best when we're evolving and improving things. Just think about it. When you learn something new and you use that task or you use that skill for the very first time, how do you feel? You feel great. You feel empowered. I just did it, yes. And I want to continue to grow. And that's what having the right mindset does for you, is it gives you that energy and you continue on that path and you continue to grow. Remember, change is inevitable. It's going to happen whether you want to have it to happen or not. The important thing is how you progress through that change. That's the important thing. So, obviously as you're making your success, your level of success will reflect this, and so will your overall happiness. Understand that your life must also be a balance. I already touched on this. You cannot be successful in one area of your life and not in the other. Okay? You can't be financially free and be neglectful of your relationships and your body. It will catch up with you at one point or another, and of course, it will bring you down. It's vital when you're setting your definition of success that you see the whole picture as to who you are, physical, emotional, and financial, everything. You have to see the entire picture. And this is something else that I wasn't doing. I was so focused when I made the transition from engineering into my business. I was so focused on my business that I let everything else go. I took care of myself, I took care of my relationships, but not the way I should have. So what happened is I would, get some success, in my business, and then I'd be pulled back because I had to balance out what I was doing. Then I get some more success, and I get pulled back, and it was like a constant yo-yo, and it was driving me crazy until I realized this balance. It had to be about balance in order to properly do what I needed to do. Okay. Your definition of success is also going to be as unique as you are. You cannot take somebody else's definition and use it as an interim or use it as okay, that's good enough. It has to be you. It has to be something that gets you excited. It has to be about you, and it has to be what makes you happy. Because whether it takes you 10 minutes, 10 hours, or 10 days, or 10 years to figure out, your success definition has to be unique to you. So now, you're going to have two things. After you define your success, you're going to have your current you, and you're going to have your new successful you that you're going to be, okay? When you compare the two together, something's going to happen. Your current you is going to start to, start to speak up, okay, if you will. It's going to start to say, you know what, you can't do that. That's crazy. That's impossible. That's not for you. That's for somebody else. But what you have to remember is that current you, it was created by the blueprint that you've been living up until this point. So that current you is, of course, going to buck the trend. Of course, it's going to say you can't do it. But you have to remember that that's the end of the current you, and now you're going to move forward and create a new you, okay? For most people, after they define a success, they immediately kill it because of the current you, because of the things, the fears, the anxiety, and they throw it all away. They say, you know what, this isn't going to work. They give up. I'm not going to do it. It can't be done. But after doing all that work, you have to move through it. If you don't, you'll never change, and that's the important thing. And that was what really happened with me when I started to see success in my business. I had these beliefs in my mind as to what I could and what I couldn't do. And, I had a very comfortable job. I had a very comfortable living, and that was my blueprint for what my income should be. And when I transferred over and when I started to build my business, guess what happened? My income fell in that exact same range. It was up or down, but it was pretty much in that same range. And I could never get above it. I couldn't get past the income I wanted. Yes, I had some additional time freedoms, but I was still really in that same income bracket, and that really perplexed me. Then I realized, I can make more. I can do more. And it's not because of who I am. It's because I have this powerful mindset that I know will allow me to get more. So I had to change the limitations that I put on myself. Everything that we deal with in our lives, every challenge, every restriction, every limit that we have on ourselves, it's put there by us. By us on ourselves. We set our limitations. When you change those limitations, you completely change the landscape of what you're capable of, okay? And the exact same thing happened for me that will happen for you, is that when you say to yourself, you know what, self, I can make $1,000 this year, and then you go out and do it. I can make $100,000 this year, and then you go out and do it. You continue to change the limitations. They're called M curves, and this is something that there's been a lot of studies done on this. And another example, if you will, back when they thought it was impossible for a human being to run the 4-minute mile, okay? They thought it was impossible to do until an athlete did it. And then what happened? It seemed like every athlete after that person was running sub 4-minute miles. Why? Because the athlete that broke the 4-minute mile barrier, he set his limitation to be below 4 minutes and went out and did it. And him doing it proved to everybody else that they could do it too. And then from that point, everyone else said, if he could do it, I can do it, and they change their limitations. The exact same thing happens here, folks. We see people who are wealthier than us. We see people that have things that we would like. Well, guess what? Set your limitation to include those. You define yourself. You change your blueprint. You are the one who is able to create what you want. If you want to think of it like a building, the Empire State Building, when it was built back in the late 20s, early 30s, before one shovel was put in the ground on 34th and 5th Street, they had rolls and rolls and rolls of drawings that defined exactly what that building was going to look like, okay? And that's exactly what you're going to do for yourself. You're going to set your success mindset to be that blueprint that's going to create the person that you want. And it's not like it has to be etched in stone. It's going to change. It's going to evolve. You're going to work on it every single day, and you're going to say, this is how I'm going to be. Oh, now I want to do this. My car is going to be white, not black. It's going to have 20-inch tires, not 18-inch tires, and you're going to continue and continue to work on it. Now, this is something that I I see, I've gone through, and this is something that you have to be prepared for. After you have your success definition, after you get through that hurdle of your current you saying you can't be done, and you get through that and you work through it, what do you see in the mirror is so important, okay? This is probably the most important part of this training right here is when you look yourself in the mirror, who do you see? What kind of person do you see when you look at yourself in the mirror? You know, you've heard the expression about, you know, the voices in your head and what do you say to yourself when no one else is listening. But this is much, much more powerful because, yes, you can tell yourself certain things. Yes, you can pump yourself up, if you will. But when you look at yourself in the mirror, your eyes can trick you. Okay, your eyes can trick you into thinking that you're looking at someone that you're not. And you know, I've had some friends that have been tricked by their eyes and what they look at. Very, very, you know, it was very detrimental to their health. And I bring this up because I think this really proves how much our eyes can trick us. Have you ever known anybody that has ever been, you know, had the disease of an eating disorder? You will know what I'm talking about. I had friends who were beautiful people, but when they looked themselves in the mirror, they saw themselves as someone who had to lose weight. They were beautiful. They were perfect. They didn't have to change. But when they looked themselves in the mirror, they saw somebody that needed improvement, that needed to change. And their belief of that change was so strong, that resonated so much with them, that they actually would starve themselves to the point where they almost died. Like, think about the power behind that belief. Now, take that negative and make it a positive. Take that negative and make it a positive. When you look at yourself in the mirror, who do you see? I see every single day, I see a successful entrepreneur. I see somebody that there's no limits. I see somebody that's going to go out and I'm going to help people every day. And I'm going to give back as much as I can. And I'm going to continue to set new beliefs that empower me to do what I want to do, and in the meantime help others do exactly the same. That's what you got to tell yourself. If you look at yourself in the mirror and see yourself, well, didn't hit that goal, oh, didn't do that, oh, look at me, I gained some weight, you're going to tear yourself down faster than anything else out there. And everything I'm saying is going for naught because you're the only one that's in your head. You're the only one that knows how you feel. People can give you suggestions. People can help you through things. But it's you, when you're by yourself, when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, how you feel and what you feel is really what's going to bring it. And you know what? It can be something as simple as you walk by a mirror, you look at yourself and say, you're great. And it's not an ego boost. It's not about, you know, being egotistical. It's just about telling yourself how you love yourself. And that helps to always have that sense of worth so that you know you're always getting better. You know, when you're grateful for something, it continues to flow to you, right? So that's exactly what happens. You have that success definition. You have what you're striving for. When you look in that mirror, of course, you're going to be able to see that successful person. And one last thing, of course, is your vision. What's your vision going to have? You know, obviously you can tell by this training tonight, it's an emotional training. And it's emotional because that's the most important thing about all of this, is you have to have emotion attached to it. Otherwise, it's going to do nothing. And when I first started with my goal setting, when I first started with my affirmations, you know, I was diligent. I did everything that I was supposed to do except let emotion come into the picture. I went through everything methodically, like a machine. I would go through my affirmations 3 times a day. I would do my goals yearly, monthly, weekly, almost daily. But because I didn't let emotion come into it, because I didn't get excited about them, because I didn't see where I wanted to go, it didn't do anything. I was just going through the motions, and that's exactly what you have to be able to do, is let the emotion come into it so that you can feel it and get you excited. Now, I can hear some people say, Jamie, I'm not the emotional type. And I'll respond in 2 ways. I'll say, yes, I understand, but A, you're human, and B, you have emotion. You may not get excited. You may not talk with your hands like I do. You may not change your voice, but you're still going to have some feeling. You're still going to feel something about what your vision has come from, about how you see yourself in your success mindset, okay? And that's always going to come through in everything that you do. You know, there's something very unique about you and your definition of success that's always going to be true. And this is a mechanism that's going to switch you on and let you loose. It's going to pull you to do the things that you want. See, if you're just going through the motions like I was, you got to push everything. And it's very laborious. It's very tiring. It's like, this is never going to end. But when you flip that switch, when you find something and you hook up with something that really gets the emotion and it pulls you, you have endless energy. Your potential is unlocked. You unlock everything that allows you to get what you want. And you never have to worry about, oh, I need to do this, because you do it automatically. See, willpower, it doesn't last. Willpower may last a day, a week, a month, maybe even 3 months, but eventually it fades. When you have that vision that pulls you into what you want, you have boundless energy. You are attached to it, and you will become what that vision is. You'll go through the activities, you'll do the proper things, and it opens up and will find and see things that will allow you to get what you want even quicker. Okay? Your vision, if you want to look at the glasses on the screen, that's exactly what it is. It's that focus on what you're after, and everything else is blanked out. You only see one area. You know, how do you think athletes get so good? They focus on that goal of winning that championship, or they focus on the goal of beating that opponent, but they do it in a positive way. They just work and work and work because that's their passion. That's their vision for what they want. They want to be a champion. They see themselves taking that trophy. That's what drives them. That's what pulls them to work 6 hours, 8 hours a day in the gym, on the field, day in, day out. The same thing happens for us. When you build that vision for yourself, and it pulls you and it promotes you, it's going to allow you to do so many things. I love Jim Rohn's expression. I have it here, the bottom 2 points. The pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. And think about that. You know, the discipline of doing the activity, of defining your success, okay? Does it take work? Sure it does. Do you have to sit down and be honest with yourself? Of course you do. But what's the difference if you didn't? Think about it. You know, if you didn't have that uncomfortableness, if you didn't have that time where you spent working on yourself, you know, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when you look back and say, oh, wow, look at the things I could have done, you can't make up for it. You can't make up for lost time. So it's really powerful when you think of it that way, to do the things that are necessary to really get you to where you want to go. And it's important to understand that. So, excuse me, when you go through your success mindset, it's very, very simplistic. It's very easy to see what you have to do. So just as a recap, of course, what you need to do is you need to sit down and you need to define your definition of success. What is it that you want to be? What's your vision of yourself, and how do you want to be in a year? How do you want to be in 5 years? How do you want to be in 10 years? Write it down. Put it on paper. And I suggest that you actually write it down on paper with a pen and pencil. You know, don't type it on your computer, because there is something to be said about actually physically handwriting out something. You can do it, put it in your computer afterwards, but go through it the old school way of writing it down by hand. Write it down. Get it on paper. Come back to it. Revise it again. And always have that document fluid as to what your success mindset is. Okay, what your definition of success is, excuse me. Once you have that, then start to live like you are in that success moment. Live like that person. You are that successful entrepreneur. You are that happy individual in a relationship. You are the one that has a huge circle of influence. You are the one that is able to help people. Even if you're not physically doing it, you are doing it in your mind. And that's the important thing. See, we see with our feelings. We don't see with our eyes. Our eyes obviously stop us from bumping into walls and bumping into people, but what we really see with our feelings. That's what creates everything in this world, right? When I used to create car parts, I used to create them in my mind first, and then I knew all the steps. Well, those steps obviously now are taken care of by the universe. But we all do it. You know, look at everything around you right now at this moment. Wherever you may be, look around you, the walls, your computer screen, your phone, everything you're looking at that you can physically touch at some point was a vision in someone's mind. And that exact thing is what you can do for yourself when you set it up for yourself. That blueprint you want to make, you draw it, you design it, you get to live it exactly the way you want to do it. And then it becomes a matter of always having that successful thinking as your dominating thought. When you see yourself in the mirror, give yourself a compliment. When you see yourself in the mirror, tell yourself that you're doing what you want to do. And what happens is, as you start to do that and then continue to do it over and over and over again, you start to build a momentum. And before you know it, you're on a path that you've set for yourself that is getting you everything that you want. The limitations that you set for yourself 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you've blown them out of the water. You've made brand new ones. And then you realize, wait, if I can set these limitations, then why set them small? I'm going to make them here. I'm going to make them even bigger. And then you continue to grow and grow and grow. And that's really what comes down to with a success mindset, is you set it for yourself, you live it in your mind, and then you live it in your life. It sounds, as I said from the very start, so simplistic, but it is so powerful. I live it every single day of my life. I know my mentors do every single day. Now I understand when they say to do certain things, why they said to do those things. We're always learning. Don't let your ego get in the way. Don't let the fact of, hey, how do you do this, or why am I doing this, get in the way of helping yourself to grow. When you live your life with a success mindset, there's no end to what you can create for you and your family. Having said that, thank you so much for joining me here this evening. As I mentioned, this call was recorded and will be up on our site within 24 hours. Please join us again next week. We will have another fantastic training. I know every single week they get better and better and better. I hope you enjoyed this one here this evening. And of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at my site, and I'll be more than happy to sit with you and, of course, continue the conversation. Thank you for joining me here this evening, everybody. Have a fantastic rest of your evening, and God bless.